Alright, what's up yins guys? Time for another video. Yeah, it's been quite a heat wave around here, and good thing some of my working some of my job assignments, one of which was doing shelving in like a store. I'm one of those people that like in an agency, they want shelves set up. They call us. It's like construction, it could be anything, you know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, I get on here, people judge me. I said, oh, you ought to find a job, this and that, and you're lonely, don't have friends. But kind of the stuff I do, you know, because it's the 21st century, you got Wi-Fi. You can't judge because you could have friends in all kind of places, you know. So you want to say something out of taste or whatever, or something that you have exactly no basis to say, you know, under anonymity, fuck you in advance. But anyway, I'm not going to go on about that. First, my last video, I was working on different intros to both entice, trying a dramatic intro, because, you know, my videos ain't the greatest. They are to send cryptic messages to people that follow me, that know me real well, that are around my area, that I do go to see, and I actually do private little seminars. I'm not saying anything I'm bigger than I am, you know, you might see soon enough. So. But yet at the same time to go like this to my haters, you know. But yeah, I'm trying to entice you if you're interested in achieving certain things, you know. I want it to be a teaser too. It's a mixture of everything, you know, and just to say whatever you choose. But my last video with a dramatic intro that I was touching on was a Fullerton informer, you know. There's certain things that you cannot believe the same thing. But now this video I'm going to do about this one YouTube channel I look at every once in a while. And I don't know, this, I don't call myself a conspiracy theorist, but yes, I'm same way like Glenn Danzig said when he was on Jonesy's Jukebox YouTube channel about if he was asked if he believes in ghosts, and he goes, well, I don't disbelieve. That's what I am about everything. I know everything's high tech, and just like they were talking on that, I'm making reference to that video that they were talking about phones and everything in tech. They agree that, hey, they can find you, people want to find you, they can find you because of all the tech. And this channel, this woman got a nice voice. I think she's pretty cool. And she deals with stuff about tech and possible transhumanism and all that. And I'm not here so that any of you guys can say, oh yeah, he believes. No, I'm trying, not a conspiracy theorist. I'm following up on references to things I want to, like the other video I did, I want to entice you to maybe talk about maybe old movies, you know, back when you were a teenager and you're watching HBO, and make references. And unlike so-called conspiracy theorists, this woman's channel, I like it a lot because, you know, there was one video, for example, she says like, where you might be living the precursor to Blade Runner, yeah. I don't know, there was some other character I almost popped into my head, and I almost, where the hell did that come from? But anyway, yeah, first of all, I could entice you to a couple more movies here, which in my last video where I talked about the Fullerton informer dude, I had my other phone with me and had typed in instead of a paper list. Because I'm trying to say this shit from memory, and I always said even years ago when I first started on YouTube, like, you know, how some people can be fake and they look like they're too intelligent, like that they're reading off of a website, or even though they look like they're looking right at you, they're looking blank. Meanwhile, my early videos were like, I like to talk about. Yeah, and if anybody happens on some of my old videos, there's ones that I've been meaning to delete and replace with now, because to not go on about it, I'll say you one more thing too. Did I try to say something from memory? Yeah, fucking right. Maybe I should have a fucking list so I can not say this in memory and my talk videos would be better. Yeah, because I should have did like I this time. I should have did this time like I did the last time. Read it off my phone. But I'm gonna give you a couple movies that I'll talk about. One thing I always said that we can be almost living like eventually, like the movie Dune. You know, we're having, you know, like uh, water shortages all over the world and all that. Some water, you know, that people even try to swim in or even touch. You can get a bacterial infection now. And not that I'm religious, but I have turned the channel and I've seen some things about, even though these organizations are saying, you know, Orphans Promise and all these places, oh, we're going to drill wells. There's a big, I put the channel and me and the girlfriend be watching a little bit of stuff because, yeah, if I see Pat Robertson on, I'd be following on the political news that he's talking about. But then I'll flick another channel, you know, I happen to be going by, but in another station, there's guys in suits. Oh, if we can get $1,000 from one of you, we can drill a well. And it's like, you know, yes, I feel bad. I'm not callous. And with the bigger population, you're going to have these problems. And people are trying to work on desalinating water now. And off the top of my head, I might as well, out of memory, I was watching this YouTube video because I'm partial to the prepper thing. And there's a trick where people in emergency can desalinate water to drink, you know, using like bottles or something, like put together some kind of way. I don't get a link for that for you, but it's out there. And I preach about people like, if you want to be a vegan, this or that. And if you eat meat before, I can say that I'm not trying to suck up to every single prepper channel, but yeah, I've eaten more wild dandelions probably than anybody on there. Actually eaten them and not, you know, just talk about it. But I'm sure some of them do because they have this belief that anything extra. Oh, and because I was on that one video that people put forth the proposition, you know, people like the Fullerton Informer on New Hunger Games. What if the inflation that we have, right? You know, people are trying to give people jobs and everything else, and there's money, just we're in debt to infinity, and they're just printing money, right? And even people like that get that EBT or welfare card, or if you ever collected partial welfare because you're under hours, depending on state to state. Me, I for one think that, yeah, they could be given that, and the inflation, you know, that can run out too, you know what I mean? And back when we were hunter-gatherers, everybody was hunter-gatherers, or when you had Roman soldiers, Persians, and all that shit. They didn't have to worry too much inflation. Maybe they had it and they had to worry about counterfeiting. All they did is conquered another nation, took air resources, and yada yada. How things evolved and changed, so it's not conspiracy theory. And I know I'm jumping subjects here, but the transhumanism thing, to me, it's not about believing in aliens and all that. I mean, the tech. I was watching, you ever see that new Ripley's Believe It or Not? I think it's on the Travel Channel. There was this really cool woman. She has to recharge her arm, but I almost... there's a part of it, even back when I was freaking grade school, when we didn't even have these iPads, phones, and computers and internet, we had little things that, like, when I was in freaking grade school, like first or second grade, that there was an article about the things they want to do in space, and they even talked about Skylab, which, if you ever did your little research on Skylab, Skylab eventually fell out of the sky and it landed on part of Australia and part of it in the Indian Ocean. So government is working on shit and tech that it gets revealed later, and we can eventually buy it. Everything from our earbuds, CIA and FBI already had it. They sit on it, and then they have people that have to pay for the privilege to put their brand name on it and sell it, but it's there. So it's not that's not conspiracy theory. And as far as flying saucers, I always told people like this too. You know, people were always experiment with different airplanes and things that fly, right? And you might have had, say, you know, they were fucking around with drones before they revealed that people could buy one. You know, you might have, because that's what people do. I mean, I'm comparing it to almost shit like in my fitness videos. I don't tell you what I'm doing. Some stuff is failure, and some stuff I have to perfect it before I reveal it to a certain point. But if people see you doing it, they'll laugh, ha ha ha. Remember, when they taught us in school, they laughed at Robert Fullerton when he was trying to invent the steamboat, you know, steam power and stuff, you know. But anyway, as far as flying saucers, I don't know if any of you guys around my age group remember this, and you had different toys. Anything from when you shoot out the sky with air with a rubber band, but other kind of little toys you wind up and make them walk. Those were a precursor to technical walker type, or maybe eventually even Terminator type stuff that people have been spending a lot of money, you know. Maybe some things fail, you know, and they scrap it and they keep trying again. And then everything that we sent out in space, I seen videos on it. It's nuclear powered and lasts for like a whole lot of years, and it's still flying out there in space, so we can take pictures of Jupiter on all that shit. And so go figure. I mean that. But anyway, about the woman, the transhumanism this woman talks about. I mean, it's already there, because that's the biggest dream that you would like to see, because somebody was born without a hand or a leg, or apart from just, you know, especially a hand where you can, and where you had movies like RoboCop and all that stuff, you know, and some things that can be eventually scary. There can be nothing left but your brain in a jar, and they can put it in like the one other RoboCop sequel, you know. That's a creepy scenario, you know. But anyway, yeah. Do you guys, before I got off the subject, remember this thing that I'd say about the idea of a flying saucer, that people probably were playing around with it and the government hasn't? Okay, like these little toys that we had. I remember as a kid, there was this little thing that it's like the inside of a fan, but it was a toy flying saucer, right? And maybe a little, forget what the hell what it was called. I gotta find it on the internet. I think it might have been even called Phantom something. But I remember being a small kid, it was like a little plastic space station, a little thing. And you know how you have a little round fan? Like, this was a device as if you were to take your fan apart, put a cone-shaped thing under it, and a fan blade. And this was just a toy fan blade, right? You had a rubber band, and you pull the rubber band, and the fan underneath the little toy flying saucer would actually float up and fly a little bit and go. So why the hell, how hard is it to, even if you don't believe in aliens, right? Say somebody, who's to say somebody didn't make a cone-shaped device like this, right? And have a big giant fan blade under it, even though in a sense it wouldn't be practical to make anything land, maybe have something that you don't have to have a runway or a landing strip, which eventually, you know, we might have like the movie Dune. But we had Harrier jets too, like one like you see, if you watched Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, where he didn't tell his wife was a spy, True Lies. Arnold Schwarzenegger flew a Harrier jet, you know, goes like this. So you don't have to have a runway, you could land like this, you know. They're working on the shit. So who's to say somebody didn't try, people didn't see flying saucers. They built a cone-shaped thing, some engineers, big giant fan blade under there, and have a motor here, right? And then it goes real fast, like a fan, and the thing flies. But yet they have to have something to propel it, you know what I mean? If you got to think in your head, you got different kind of helicopters. Now the helicopters are changing now, you know what I mean? Oh boy, I had so filled up with things today. I saw on the History Channel Chuck Norris hosting that thing about the new Army tanks and helicopters, how that stuff changed and the flying machines changed. And and after that you had a wonderful thing, you know, if you watched 80s television, all your favorite characters, the Face Man from A-Team and Michael Knight from the Knight Rider, and all of those together about cars then and now, and really wonderful thing. And even Catherine Bach, the Daisy Duke, which I think that newer Dukes of Hazzard, nothing against the woman that played Daisy Dukes in that Dukes of Hazzard movie. They featured clips from her about sexualizing music videos when I took a music video production class. Nothing against the woman that played her, but I don't know, I like the dignity of the original Daisy Duke better, and this was back in the days where you didn't have all these lewd people, like when you didn't have internet and all these lewd people watching yoga videos and saying all their perverted shit, you know. Take us back to a more innocent time when you had Linda Carter as Wonder Woman and Daisy Duke, and some of us at the young age might have said, "Now, girls yucking," and we secretly had these crushes on maybe Linda Carter or Daisy Duke. But that's a whole other video about people. You can do a whole video on that. Chicks you thought were hot in the age of more innocence before people got in their teenage years and before internet, before you got to certain workplaces. How some of the stuff, I'm not a feminazi like the crazy ass feminazis, but there's some ways that people shouldn't be. But anyway, okay, if you got this far in the video too, I'm gonna write this in the written synopsis in there. Like a movie that was like Dune. If you were watching Dune in HBO back maybe when I was a teenager, there was also a forgotten movie, and I want to talk about forgotten movies. That's what I make this shit about. And if you didn't get this far in this video, I'm going to write the title in there. A movie called Solar Babies. If you were watching Dune at the same time, there was like a thing where it was like a New World Order. The setting was like a New World Order type of thing, okay? And if you want to cross-reference anything that, say, I've seen on TV recently, or CBN and Pat Robinson on their news, and then other people on YouTube news were talking about places like, I think, Norway now, that's saying that their child welfare department, they're taking people's kids for stupid shit. No court case and threatening to arrest the parents if you talk about it anywhere publicly, which, I mean, it's on some of our, social media now too, talking about it. It's like the guy at the Future of Freedom Foundation said, that literally, about succumbing or conforming to authority when it comes to your kids, where some of these authorities are turning into thugs and they could just take your kids. They say, you want, if they or a school, somebody in a school orders your kid to be on some kind of meds, which I frankly believe it's just a control thing, and they're going to threaten to arrest you as a parent, and throw you in people come with guns on their hip and threaten to throw you in a cage and tell you that your kids ought to be on meds, or they don't like that your kids are being homeschooled. But, I'm just saying and talking in parentheses here, you know what I mean? But back to comparing this with movies, older movies. There's a movie called Solar Babies, which was like Dune. They had this like New World Order thing, and there was a water shortage, and this New World Order thing, they had like a futuristic type Nazi group that controlled everything, and these kids escaped from this prison camp that they took all the kids from the parents, okay, and then they had control of the water. And our heroes, the kids, were like running, and they were trying to find their parents, on the run. Then they had a special breed of bounty hunter that they had little advertising on the board, computerized advertising with their pictures. Extra water privileges for the capture of these fugitives, And so yeah, but anyway, the movie was kind of like before they escaped this little like Nazi camp. They had these other rival groups. They had in the they had like, it was like, I don't know if you want to call it a prison yard or something. They had little recreation. It was a big controlled, state-controlled, foster home where people were taken from the kids were taken from their parents, but they got to play a little sports. And their sport was it was crossed between, if you want to call this, like the stick that's like lacrosse. You see the lacrosse games, look at the channels, and at the same time rollerblade hockey. It was like a rollerblade lacrosse thing. and I guess they find this, I don't know, it was from an alien planet somewhere else, like a futuristic, where the hell they found it in a cave, but it talked to them. It was like, unlike a cell phone or an iPad, it was some kind of a spherical type, and they even gave it a name, you know, but anyway, it had some magical control and it helped them out and all that stuff. You know, it was a little bit of fantasy going on there. It was kind of cool, but anyway, yeah, in like the other, before they fled the prison yard or whatever on the run, there was some other kids that were indoctrinated that were, I guess they played as rivals, you know. It was like, you know, the sport, they were all wearing black and they played the game too, and politically they were on the side of the of their captors. They were on the side of the Nazi group that controlled everything, that controlled the camp, you know, or orphan camp or what have you, and in the movie everybody was made to watch this indoctrination film. To be in, the kids were also wanting to be recruited. It was the purpose of this camp was actually to recruit them into the army and stuff. And in the movie, they had suits like the movie Dune, and they were showing, you know, the killing going on and trying to glorify it, what have you. And if you got this far, I want to talk to you about too an older movie that ain't so science fiction. This was a true story, okay? You ever see this movie, The Ogre? It was about where during the Nazi-occupied countries, it was how the Nazis were. There was these people that would come, right? It was called The Ogre, and the movie was featured on this. The main character, okay, was this one guy. It was his job to go with people and just go to these houses and take these kids. And they would take these kids and indoctrinate them into the Nazi army and take them away from their parents, and then teach them that it's fun to use guns and shoot and all that. And how, well, then you want to talk about how I seen how, but that's a classic example. This was a movie on the true story, and you got to wonder if they want to do this in this New World Order and then kidnap people's kids. They have human trafficking going on and everything else that people are hiding and coming into light, you know, and everything else. But at the same time, whether you're religious or not, there's this, and I don't want to go Alex Jones on you either, but hey, the president of the Future of Freedom Foundation literally said in a YouTube video that I seen a long time ago, literally was talking about this too, and how, you know, how do you know that they ain't doing that, you know, and they could do that eventually in the future, because after all, our country, you have to pay out a lot of damn money to have an army, and we're inflating the currency. And and this was the kicker I was trying to say too. The president of the Future Freedom Foundation also says that literally, this was actually like so good that all right, a quote from the president of the Future of Freedom Foundation. He said, quote, like, and this is was a video about when they want to force you to kidnap your kids on false accusations of child abuse because they want. He was talking about this. He says, literally that, like, and this is the truth. He said, this is what they did in Burma. This is what they did in fascist Italy and Soviet Russia and like Nazi Germany. They take people's kids and, well, yeah, they'll use mind-altering drugs. But when I was talking about the president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, this was a video I kind of got in my archives too, where the video that I got this information from the president of this foundation was, it was an old story like Fox News from another state other than where I was at, that there was a story on a particular black woman where the school was ordering her young daughter, like, just because they said so, to tell her that she needed meds, and anything from Ritalin, Prozac, or any kind of thing. And the mother says, "No, screw you! I'm not giving my daughter this junk." So supposedly, according to this on the news, the cops came in with tried to come in with guns on their hip and take her away. And eventually, I think she won the case. And what they supposedly did is tried to railroad her, she didn't know her rights, and they just had something stamped, not even stamped by a judge, just stamped somewhere, not even signed, no due process. And I guess her lawyer got her out of it. And I'm not saying everybody that's in authority is like that, but there is a political battle out there to put people in office that they want to put people in with that authority and get the good people in authority out of there. I'm not denying that there isn't real child abuse out there. I've seen some really hideous things, but I know part of this was about tech, but at the same time it was it relates because North Korea has it already. We got cameras that make our lives safer now too. Anybody that does some really bad stuff like robberies and shootings, they got like ShotSpotter, and they got cameras where if you run somewhere in your car, a surveillance camera somewhere else will get you. And yes, absolutely, that's a good thing to have. But at the same time, there's a thing where people, authorities of different people, and then informants of different kinds, they don't like you. People can surveil you. They know more about you than you, and they can find you, and they know damn well that they can surveil you. They know if you have a record or anything before they see your ID and who you are. And you can make cases that, hey, you're walking around, you're seeing in cameras on the street, walking around too cocky, too proud of yourself, and send somebody, because somebody in authority, somebody that knows somebody in authority, a respectable figure, maybe will put pressure on find some officer somewhere and say, because they're bitching about something or whatever too, and somebody wants to go and remind you who runs things and who actually is the power here or whatever too. But in the same token, you got the other side that doesn't like the authority or police or military or whatever, that'll accuse of brutality or harassment, but they think that they want to replace the police and everybody military, kind of a narco thug-like communism too. They hate the police and they'll say all brutality, they'll say this or that. And not that you're going to stick up for authority, you just got to watch the wrong ones in power. That's creepy, but at the same time, you get these other people that'll claim that, but yet they think they're people, if they have some problem with you or whatever too, instead of coming to you with it, that they can have you beat up or have something done to you or whatever. So they should rewrite a new sequel to John Carpenter's They Live with those two elements, you know what I mean, too. So there's kind of shifts in power, that people want, like a communism, too. They want to beware of people that, fuck authority, hate authority, but yet beware of the ones that, they want to say F the police, F the military, and you don't want to stick up for them, but beware of the ones that want to have demands on you, or things in so many words, to demand a behavior on you or whatever too, that you could get beat up or whatever if you don't behave like this, or if you whatever too. That's like, there are people out there that are involved in these protests that people will join these protests for that. What they want is, for example, when they said, I think somebody put on Facebook, Margaret Thatcher was saying about people raise their fists in the air, they mean down with them, but power to the communist state or something. And you got some people that they want a better world, and they don't want common sense things, you know. They don't want arrests without due process and things like that. That's fine, but you get these people, beware of protesters out there that you have now. They're trying to get people in office. They're raising their fist in the air, and instead of some common sense, better world, when they're raising their fists in the air, they're saying raise their fists in the air and say down with the police and down with this and that. Power to the narco-communist state, you know. Like it's your ability, make it like you've got to be one of them. It's your sworn duty when they get their political ways, down with the basic authority of the police and hail to the thug daddy or drug daddy, and you're required to buy a minimum amount of drugs or until that shift of power that they hope now, you know, happens. That's literally like now like that. If you don't, they take it if you want a more convenient life, you don't want to be dependent on cigarettes, dependent on street drugs or soon to be legal narcotics, or you don't want to be on state sanctioned or encouraged drugs of certain kinds, antidepressants or whatever, then you're some kind of snitch or something you should get beat up or whatever, that should get beat up. And I'm not a Scientologist or anything like that, but the thing I do support, I didn't even know it was Scientology before they actually, I saw this on there, the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, where they're against these meds, antidepressant drugs, and you got this, there's some words of Tom Cruise who I myself will support, even though I'm not a Scientologist, and there's some kind of things that Scientology is accused of, but if they're doing that, it ain't cool either. Every little thing, you're not allowed to say. And you saw Melanie, what's her name, how you pronounce her name on Joe Rogan. But even if you're not a Scientologist, what appealed to me was that even, I don't know if they're doing it to further their religion or whatever, but I'm a strong supporter of that thing where they're right about their videos. Before they had the psychotropics or experiment, people were literally experimental guinea pigs and everything else, and they were messing people's head up. If you weren't, if they complained that you didn't behave or act like this or whatever, or if you tried to expose the earlier things what Catholic priests were doing and some people's Catholic parents were doing to their kids. The kids were just thrown in these places in straitjackets and put shock treatments and given these meds, and then all of a sudden it would cause them to make these faces. Oh, look at him or her, she's crazy. They only want to bring that back, to a certain way now, and they can say, you're crazy or whatever, or terrorist or whatever, but it all kind of ties together in a weird way, you know what I mean, too. But, I reference, like I said, too, that, if you got this far, you've had the Hunger Games involved in it, there could be rationing out food or whatever, or different shit like that going on. And people need something done and need more, they can't entice you with, if instead of enticing you with some other kind of things, to join some kind of army or enforcement group, all of a sudden, but if they're going to gradually, if it isn't human trafficking, kidnapping your kids, inject, like the guy in the Future Freedom Foundation said, take these, trying to get people with guns on their hip to kidnap people's kids in order to inject mind-altering drugs in them. And then if you don't comply with it, they throw you in a cage. It's like fuck you.